Welcome back, everybody. Thought I'd do a little bit more on the loop. I am leaning more and more towards sailboat just purely because of what I want to do after I complete the loop, and I would be demasting it before starting. Uh, just primarily because I'm looking at getting my boat down here, the Gulf or Florida, because I'm going to be leaving. Well, buying the boat and getting it outfitted and getting everything going late October, early November. So that gives me a little bit of time to, if I do need to do repairs, modifications, I have plenty of time to do it before heading up the coast in the spring. If I have the extra time to hit the Caribbean or the Bahamas, great. If not, I'll do it after the loop. So depending on where you're going to start out at, generally depicts on what time of year you're looking at starting the loop. If you're looking at starting the loop in the winter, you're going to be down around the Gulf of Mexico, Florida area. Springtime, up the coast, up into Maryland, Delaware. And I don't know if you want to get up into New York and everything yet, but you're going to be up in this area for the spring. Summertime, you're coming up through this area. And you're going to want to probably start coming out of Lake Michigan and down through Illinois as the fall breaks over. I've discussed Captain John's website in a previous video, but he has a lot of great information about the loop. Um, he goes over the cost. So, you read up on all this stuff to make sure you're doing the correct decisions on what you're looking at doing. The biggest thing is he goes down here underneath that, the boat tab. He goes completely through it, very in depth, but also real quick and simple. Talks about your range, you minimum safe fuel range of at least 208, but there is a section because of somewhere in there, um, fuel range right there. I spanned right over it. It's better to have something that can do over 250 miles because Hoppy's Marina on the upper Mississippi River, right up in here, because of, get it the way he worded it, regrettably recently, that marina's had its fair share of problems with weather and the waterway. Its future is in jeopardy just because of flooding and other issues. So if that marina is closed, you're going to need to go over 250 miles. So you really need to find that stuff out about your boat. You might need to pack a couple jerry cans along with you for that stretch. 19 foot 6 inches right here at Chicago is that fixed bridge. You can go around all the other lower bridges. There's just no other way. If you can't clear 19.6, you're turning back. So, and those other ones he talks about right here, if you can get under 17 feet, you can cruise through downtown Chicago. If you can go under 15.6, you can do a lot more of the Erie Canal and other areas. Goes in great detail throughout his site, so I strongly recommend reading through his site The Great Loops organization's website has some great information too. I just like the way he lays it out. Your beam has maximum beams of 23 feet or less. So basically, you're not going to get that danger because the 90-foot overall length for Canada's canals. And I don't think most of us are looking at that. The only way you're going to get close to 23 feet for width is if you're on a catamaran, sailing catamaran at that. Must have 5 feet of draft or less for the Trent Severn waterway, and it's recommended for below, they recommend you have less than 4 feet just because of issues. Is the water running low and things along those lines? And that right there is the draft issue, is one of the biggest things that's limiting me on using the kind of sailboat I want, because I want a blue water sailboat, and generally you're looking at over 5 feet of draft for most of those, even a full keel. You have to have a working depth finder. You have to have a VHF radio, all the U.S. Coast Guard safety equipment that is required by the Coast Guard you must have. You really need a good anchoring system. My view on that is you need 2 good main anchors towards the front of your boat, and it probably wouldn't be bad to have a stern anchor too. I don't know how many times you'll have to do it on the loop, but there's some times that having a good rearward anchor to lock your boat in a certain position is warranted. But I would definitely have 2 sets of main anchors up front. If something happens and you have to cut away your anchor because you can't get it up out of the mud, muck, rock, whatever it got into, you have another anchor. So if you can't make it to a marina, you can still anchor up one more night. If worst case scenario, it gets locked up again, you can't get it out, you can get to a marina. But that's just my view on it. I like redundant systems. You need a good GPS chart plotter and complete coverage of the entire route. Again, I prefer redundant systems. I will have a good GPS chart plotter installed on the boat, but I will also have Navionics on my phone and Navionics on my tablet. More so the tablet because that's real quick and easy to plug that in and mount it and run it on the boat. The phone is basically a third backup. I've already got Navionics on my phone, and I'll just keep it going. I'll just get another copy for the tablet. But this is what he goes through completely. Now, on getting your boat that you're looking for, Curtis Stokes has great listings, and they will mark them if they've actually done the loop already. But also, they deal with a lot of people doing the loop. So if you discuss what you're looking for with them, it's really easy to help you find what you're looking for. They're not going to be going and trying to remember, okay, they need the draft below this amount, they need this much range, they need this. They know what that boat needs. And they do have a lot of different boats at a lot of different price ranges and sizes, and of course accommodations capability. If I end up going solo on it, a boat similar to this one is the way I would go if I go powerboat. About $37,000. It's a 34-foot boat. It's goes to the 15 feet for bridge clearance. So if we look at this, there's I'm below the 15.6. So unless the water level's high, there isn't anywhere on the loop, at least that I've ever seen looking at anything, that boat wouldn't be able to do. The draft is 2 feet 10 inches, so you're not going to be worrying about draft at all. One of the things I really liked about this boat is one of the last pictures. The rudder is well protected with this. It's really locked in place, but it's also protecting your prop. So, and this is a bow thruster, aftermarket, after manufacturer mounted bow thruster is what this is here. So it's got a whole lot going for it. The engine compartment looks in real good, clean condition. The wiring that I've seen looks to be in very. It looks like it was all installed correctly, and no one's really hacked into the wiring. The galley on this boat, the only issue I have with this boat is there's no stovetop. You basically have a microwave oven, so you probably you could use a camp stove or something right there, or figure out something else for your cooking capability. You've got a really nice aft deck here. Don't recall it. Yeah, he doesn't really have a great. They don't really have a great shot of up on this fly bridge here. But either on the fly bridge or down here, you could put a barbecue grill in too. So there's things you could do with a boat like this. But this is only a couples kind of boat because of the one cabin. You could get away with some more people because you can do. This might be a hideaway bed. If it's not, you can get a hideaway couch in here and replace that, and they could sleep on this. For this length of a trip, you're going to be on it for most of a year. Personally, I would want 2 staterooms, and this one only has a single. Well, they call it a cabin on this paperwork, but they only have a single. But for a single or a couple, great boat for it, $37,000. This Morgan Out Island here fits the bill for what I want to do afterwards also. It's about $30,000. It's 41 feet instead of the 34 feet. So mooring it would cost more. The problem is it doesn't say it there, but if I remember correctly, the 41-foot out island draft is a little too much. No, it's not too bad. 4 feet, about a 4-foot draft. So that's not too bad. You've got a rear berth, a front berth, full kitchen if it has been messed with, pilot berths for other people to sleep on or you to sleep on while you're underway. So that is not a bad option for something like the Loop. Now, it doesn't give great pictures all the way around. I would want a picture. By this, that's telling me a good chunk of the electronics are out of date. That's an older chart plotter, I believe. So they probably would need some electronics, but there's no picture of the engine compartment. That spooks me. Just outright, any kind of boat, I want to see the engine compartment. but this is off of the Craigslist in the Miami area. So Craigslist, Facebook groups, Curtis Stokes and Association, Yacht Trader, you also have the option of using a site called Sailboat Listings. They're worldwide. Depending on what kind of boat you want, there's a lot of options on where to go to find what you're looking for. Another thing that Captain John's website has, he goes over finances. For this. So you've got, he goes over stuff about the fuel, and how to figure out how to make a reasonable budget to do the loop. So my big price point for any of the boats I'm looking at is I don't want to exceed 40 to 50,000 for the boat, because I don't want to go much over a total of 100,000 for the whole trip. Now that's budgeting, that's giving me a lot more than by doing the numbers through his thing that I would need to spend, because I am probably going to be in the 20 to 30 range, $20,000 to $30,000 of expenses during the loop because of my lifestyle and the way I like to do these kind of things. I've done a lot. I've got fairly good experience on being a tourist. When I drove trucks cross country, there was a lot of places I've stopped all over the United States where parked the truck for the weekend and I'd take mass transit to the beach. I'd walk to someplace to do things. I didn't spend much money when I was sightseeing in towns. And now with a full kitchen on board the boat, that was the biggest expense when I was running over the road, is what I spent on eating. Because I just didn't like packing food on the truck and cooking on my truck. I did from time to time, but I really didn't enjoy it all that much. So you'd want to look at this here and figure out what you're realistically going to be spending on the loop. How much money you're going to have realistically to get your boat and do the loop, because that's going to greatly be a deciding factor on what kind of boat you can afford to get for the loop, or if you already have a boat, what the expenses you might incur. And depending on where you're at, you know, what's it going to cost you to get your boat towards the loop area? Are you in the Gulf already in Texas? Are you all the way up in Maine? You know, those things, you know, if you're going to have to move your boat, you're going to need to figure out what you're going to burn, how much your fuel is going to cost to get it. Heck, if you're over on the West Coast, is it more, would it be less expensive overall for you to find a good boat, do the loop on it, if it's in your budget, to buy a boat on the East Coast, do the loop, and resell it for close to what you originally bought it for? Might be more cost effective for you than getting your boat from the West Coast to the eastern U.S. to do the loop. And at the same time, you're not going to want to go too frugal on your boats. let me see if I can pull one up here. I've got one in top of my head. Uh, that if you just look at the numbers, you would think, oh, great. Okay, this little 27-foot MacGregor draft comes all the way down to 1.5 feet because it's a water ballast boat. It's got a pretty good motor on it. Problem is, I don't think they have very good fuel tankage on board. But the biggest issue is here are your accommodations. Very small kitchen, not much in the way of sleeping accommodations, food. That's pretty much it. Could you do it on that? Yeah. You won't have anywhere near the same creature comforts as if you did it on, oh, let's see if I can think of that's a 27. This Pearson, a little bit longer draft, not much. The MacGregor, the mast, you raise and lower the mast. You can do that on the boat. This one doesn't look like it's that style. But just look at the fit and finish on this 27-foot boat compared to what, well, besides that, you've got an inboard motor instead of the outboard. You're not going to have a huge amount of sleeping areas, but you have a full wet head. So you can take a shower and everything else on your boat. MacGregor, you can't. The MacGregor is, and this actually has a refrigerator too. The MacGregor, you would have a camp shower kind of thing, possibly, or you're just using the showers at the marinas. And an ice chest. It doesn't have refrigeration on board. So there's a huge difference on what you can do and the accommodations on how well they're going to be. On a budget, the boat can do it. 3 foot 4 inches on draft, it could do the loop. I don't recall what the fuel tankage is on one of these. You might need to carry some jerry cans with you to be able to make it through that section of no fuel stops. But a sailboat like this, the 37-foot sailboat that I've been on with an inboard motor burned less than a gallon an hour the engine was operating. Not by much. We're talking 8/10, 9/10. This, and that motor being the size it is, it's a 20 horsepower motor, Yanmar diesel. That thing might not even burn 6/10 of a gallon an hour. You'd want to check that. Don't take my word for it. But it's probably a very fuel efficient boat. So look into everything. It's one of the reasons I'm looking through all the boats, making my plans now, even though I'm not doing the trip for over a year. I really want a good idea and have it mostly locked down on what I want to use for it. Because I very well might end up with a trawler like this. Because if the other boats don't meet my requirements that are on the market at that time, sailboat wise, because what I want to do after this is the ARC. I want to do the Atlantic Rally for Cruisers. I would like to sail across the Atlantic to Europe and back. I did some more research today and found out that it's not going to be as expensive on gear wise as I thought it was. So good set of sails and rigging, doing one round trip would not greatly shorten the lives of the sails and the rigging. I would still have years of it. After about the second round trip of it, then you're starting to want to replace your rigging and things like that. So I might go ahead and have a sailboat capable of the Ark instead of just trying to find a crew slot of people that need a crew member for doing the Ark. But those are my thoughts. I would be going to something like this if a really good blue water sailboat doesn't come up on the price range I want. But also the issue I have is the drafts. On a good blue water sailboat, which this is a fairly good strong blue water sailboat, it's got the fuel tankage for that bad section of the loop. It's got, it could easily do the Ark. So it's things that like this that I keep researching and finding, because there's a couple boats I really was interested in until I found out of some flaws they had in construction and how much it cost to fix it. I wouldn't have wanted to run those boats for the Ark. It's just no. But I hope you have a good day and it gives you some things to think about and helps you with your planning. Please comment, subscribe if you find any of my videos helpful. If you have comment suggestions, please put them in the comment section below on what I can do to improve it, something you're looking for and you're having difficulty finding. I'll see if I can help you out. Have a good night. Bye.